Hyunwoo Kang stood alone in the center of the massive chamber. Above him, thousands of alien beings watched from their seats. Some had wings, some had tentacles, and some were made of pure light. They were all part of the Galactic Council, and they were all staring at him. He was the last human ambassador in alien space. In 30 days, he would have to leave forever. The chamber was cold and silent. Hyunwoo looked up at the eldest arbiter, a being made of living crystal that sparkled in the dim light. The arbiter was older than most stars in the galaxy. When it spoke, its voice echoed like breaking glass. Ambassador Kang, humanity has been judged. The council has made its decision. Hyunwoo's hands shook, but he kept his voice steady. We followed your laws. We submitted our reports. We paid our dues. What crime have we committed? A three-headed creature from the left side of the chamber spoke next. You modified your own genetics without permission. You built weapons beyond your tier level. You colonized 3-star systems without waiting for council approval. Those systems were empty, Hyunwoo said. No one lived there. We harmed no one. That is not the point, another alien said. This one looked like a floating brain surrounded by mist. You refuse to follow the preservation protocols. Every species must develop at the approved pace. You move too fast. You change too much. You question everything. Hyunwoo felt anger rising in his chest. You mean we don't obey without asking why? We don't accept limits just because you say so. The eldest arbiter's crystal body flashed bright red. This is exactly why the council has no choice. Humanity is dangerous. Not because you are evil, but because you cannot be controlled. You advance too quickly. In 200 years, you have achieved what takes other species 2,000 years. You do not respect the natural order. Natural order? Hyunwoo laughed, but there was no humor in it. You mean your order. The order that keeps you in power while everyone else stays weak. The chamber erupted in angry sounds. Clicking, humming, roaring, and screeching filled the air. The arbiter raised one crystalline arm, and silence fell again. We are not here to debate philosophy, Ambassador. The decision is made. Earth and all human colonies will be placed behind a barrier field. No ship will enter or leave human space. You have 30 days to bring all humans home. After that, the barrier activates. We will review your status in 500 years. Hyunwoo felt like he had been punched in the stomach. 500 years? Most of our ambassadors, our traders, our students, they'll be dead before you even reconsider. That is unfortunate but necessary, the arbiter said. Its voice had no emotion at all. Perhaps in 5 centuries, humanity will have learned patience and respect for authority. Perhaps not. Either way, you will no longer be our problem. You're afraid of us, Hyunwoo said quietly. The chamber went silent again. That's what this really is. You're not punishing us for breaking laws. You're exiling us because you're terrified of what we might become. The arbiter said nothing, but its crystal body dimmed slightly. Hyunwoo knew he was right. The session is concluded, the arbiter announced. Ambassador Kang, you have 29 days, 17 hours remaining. Use them wisely. The floor beneath Hyunwoo began to move, carrying him toward the exit. As he left the chamber, he caught one last glimpse of the thousands of alien faces watching him go. Some looked satisfied, some looked worried, a few looked sad. Outside the chamber, Hyunwoo found the rest of the human delegation waiting. There were only 12 of them left. Once, there had been hundreds of humans working throughout council space. Nari Cho, the head of Earth's Science Council, stepped forward. She was a small woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. How bad is it? She asked. As bad as it can be, Hyunwoo said. Total exile. The barrier goes up in 30 days. A younger man, Junho Park, slammed his fist against the wall. He was an admiral in Earth's defense fleet. They can't do this. We have rights. We have no rights here, Hyunwoo said. We never did. We were guests, and guests can be asked to leave. Nari looked out the window at the stars beyond. We need to get home. We need to warn everyone. The journey back to human space took 23 days. They used every communication channel they had, sending messages ahead. By the time their ship crossed into the solar system, Earth was already preparing. Hunwoo stood on the bridge as they approached Earth. The blue and green planet looked so small, so fragile. It was hard to believe that everyone he loved, everyone he knew, would soon be trapped here forever. "Ambassador, we're receiving a transmission from Earth Command," the pilot said. A hologram appeared in the center of the bridge. It showed a woman in a military uniform. "Ambassador Kang, this is General Yuna Lee. We've been expecting you. Report to Earth Command immediately upon landing. We have much to discuss." The ship landed at the main spaceport in Seoul. As Hyunwoo walked down the ramp, he saw thousands of people waiting. News crews, government officials, ordinary citizens, they all wanted to know what would happen next. Hyunwoo was taken to a secure facility deep underground. Inside, he found the leaders of Earth's government, military, and scientific community. Nari Cho and Junho Park were already there. At the head of the table sat an older woman with white hair and calm eyes. Her name was Sora Han, and she was the Secretary General of the United Earth Government. "Ambassador Kang," she said, "thank you for coming. We have 6 days before the barrier activates. 6 days to bring home every human in Council space. 6 days to prepare for what comes next." "What does come next?" Hyunwoo asked. Sora smiled, but it was a cold smile. "Evolution, Ambassador. The Council thinks they're punishing us. They think isolation will weaken us or destroy us. They don't understand humans at all." Nari Cho stood up and walked to a large screen on the wall. She pressed a button and images appeared. Ships, weapons, laboratories, cities on distant planets. "For the past 50 years we've been preparing for this," Nari said. "We knew the Council would never accept us as equals, so we've been building in secret, researching in secret, growing in secret. We have hundreds of projects ready to launch the moment the barrier goes up," another scientist added. "Projects the Council would never allow: genetic enhancement, artificial intelligence, quantum weapons, things they consider too dangerous." Junho Park grinned. "Let them watch from outside their barrier. Let them see what happens when you leave humanity alone with its imagination and no rules to hold us back." Hyunwoo looked around the room at the determined faces. These people weren't scared. They were excited. 500 years, Sorahan said. "The Council thinks that's when they'll check on us again. But here's what they don't know. 500 years is more than enough time. Enough time to surpass them. Enough time to make them irrelevant." Nari Cho turned to Hyunwoo. "The Council made a mistake today, Ambassador. They didn't destroy us. They freed us. And one day, they're going to regret it." 6 days later, the barrier activated. It surrounded all of human space in a field of shimmering energy. No ship could pass through. No signal could penetrate it. Humanity was alone. On Earth, in the observation room of the main science facility, Nari Cho stood next to Admiral Junho Park. They watched the barrier complete its formation around their solar system. "They just made their biggest mistake," Nari said softly. "They left us alone with our imagination." Junho nodded. "Then let's show them what happens when humans are free to dream without limits." Behind them, technicians were already beginning work on projects that would have been impossible under Council law. The Exile had begun, but so had something else, something the Council would never expect. Humanity's true evolution was about to start. 50 years had passed since the barrier went up. The Council called it the Veil, and they believed it was a prison. They were wrong. Taehyun Im stood in his laboratory on Mars, looking at the device that would change everything. It was a small cube, no bigger than his hand, but it glowed with a soft blue light. His team had spent 5 years building it. "Run the test again," he said to his assistant. The young woman nodded and pressed several buttons. The cube began to spin, slowly at first, then faster and faster. Space around it started to bend and twist. Then, with a flash of light, the cube vanished. "It worked," the assistant whispered. "Where did it go?" Taehyun asked. "Proxima Station, exactly where we aimed it. 4 light years away. It arrived in 3 seconds." Taehyun felt his heart racing. They had done it. They had created a way to travel faster than light without using the Council's jump gates. This technology was theirs alone. He picked up his communication device and called General Una Lee to tell her they were ready. Across human space, changes were happening everywhere. On Earth, in the underground city of New Seoul, thousands of people worked in factories that built ships. These were not the simple cargo ships humanity had used before. These were warships, designed with technology the Council had never allowed. General Una Lee walked through the construction bay, looking at the massive vessel taking shape. It was 3 kilometers long, covered in armor that could repair itself, and armed with weapons that could destroy a small moon. "How many more until the fleet is complete?" she asked the engineer beside her. 37 ships in this class, General, plus 200 smaller cruisers and 500 fighters. We'll have the full Vanguard fleet ready in 6 months. Una smiled. Good. The Council thinks we're weak and isolated. Let them keep thinking that. In the political center of Earth, Ambassador Sora Han was now much older but still sharp. She sat in her office with representatives from all human colonies. They were discussing the new government structure. The Terran Accord is not just a treaty, Sora explained. It's a promise. Every human colony, every human ship, every human being, we stand together. We answer to no one but ourselves and each other. A man from the Europa colony raised his hand. What about those who disagree? What about the colonies that want to try contacting the Council? They're free to try, Sora said. But the veil blocks all signals, and even if it didn't, why would we want to talk to those who exiled us? We're better off without them. Everyone in the room nodded in agreement. The years of isolation had made humanity stronger, not weaker. They had learned to depend on themselves. But not everyone was celebrating. In a dark office in Earth's intelligence headquarters, Donghae Nam was worried. He was the head of humanity's spy network, and he had discovered something troubling. They're watching us, he told his team. The Council has sensors pointed at the veil. They can't see through it clearly, but they can detect energy patterns. They know we're building something. Does it matter? One of his officers asked. They can't get through the veil any more than we can get out. That's not entirely true, Donghae said. He pulled up a classified file on his screen. We have evidence that the veil wasn't built by the Council. They found it. Ancient technology, millions of years old. They figured out how to activate it, but not how to truly control it. So what does that mean for us? It means there might be a way out. Or a way in. We need to find it before they do. Across the solar system, on Jupiter's moon, Ganymede, Dr. Yoonji Baek was working on exactly that problem. She was the lead scientist on the Veil research project. Her laboratory was filled with equipment that measured every type of energy, radiation, and quantum fluctuation coming from the barrier. The veil is not solid, she explained to her team during their weekly meeting. It's more like a frequency field. Everything has a frequency: light, matter, energy. The veil blocks the frequencies used by Council technology, but we don't use Council technology anymore. A younger scientist leaned forward. Are you saying we could pass through it? Potentially, yes. If we modify our ships to operate on different quantum frequencies, the veil might not recognize them as ships at all. It would be like sneaking past a guard dog by pretending to be a tree. How long until we can test this theory? Yoonji looked at her calculations on the screen. 2 years, maybe less if we get more funding. General Una Lee, who had been listening from the doorway, stepped into the laboratory. You'll have whatever you need. The Terran Accord has authorized unlimited resources for this project. Breaking through the veil is now our top priority. Life inside human space had changed in other ways, too. Without the Council's cultural restrictions, human art and music had exploded in new directions. Cities on Earth and Mars were filled with colors and sounds that would have been illegal under Council law. Children were being taught differently, too. They learned not just human history, but also how to question, how to invent, how to dream big. The motto in every school was the same. We follow our own path. But the biggest change was in how humans saw themselves. For 50 years, they had been told they were criminals, dangers, problems to be locked away. Now they knew the truth. They had been exiled because they were too good, too creative, too free. On the 50th anniversary of the exile, Sora Han gave a speech that was broadcast to every human colony. 50 years ago, The council called us dangerous, she said. They were right. We are dangerous to tyranny, to stagnation, to anyone who says you cannot do this without good reason. They thought Exile would break us. Instead, it freed us. We have built more in 50 years than we built in 500 years under their rules. She paused and looked directly into the camera. The council believes they will check on us in 450 more years. But I say this to them, even though they cannot hear me. When you finally open that barrier, you will not find the frightened, weakened humans you expect. You will find something you never imagined. You will find humanity at its full potential. And you will realize that exiling us was not your protection, it was ours. The speech was met with cheers across all human colonies. People felt proud, unified, and ready for whatever came next. In her laboratory, Dr. Yunji Bayek worked late into the night. She had a breakthrough. The calculations were showing something unexpected. The veil could be opened from the inside. Not just opened, collapsed entirely. She immediately sent a message to the Terran Accord leadership. Within hours, she was in a secure meeting with Sora Han, General Yuna Li, and several other key leaders. "You're certain?" Sora asked. "We can leave whenever we want?" "Yes," Yunji confirmed. "The veil was designed to keep people out, not keep people in. With the right technology, which we now have, we can walk out of this cage anytime we choose." The room fell silent. General Yuna Li spoke first. "Then the question becomes, when do we leave? And more importantly, what do we do when we get out there?" Sora Han thought for a long moment. "We don't leave yet. We continue building. We continue advancing. When we do step back into the galaxy, we do it as equals. No, not equals. As superiors. The Council will learn that you cannot hold humanity back. You can only make us stronger by trying." Everyone agreed. The work would continue. The advancement would continue. And one day, when humanity was ready, they would return to the galaxy. But it would be on their terms, following their laws, answering to no one. Outside, beyond the veil, the Council's sensors detected a surge of energy from human space. They assumed it was just more construction, more of the usual human activity. They had no idea that humanity had just learned the secret of their prison. They had no idea that the cage door was already unlocked. And they had no idea that humanity was simply waiting for the right moment to step out and change everything. 200 years after the exile began, Captain Minho Zheng stood on the bridge of the ISS Prometheus. His ship was the first to attempt what everyone thought was impossible, passing through the veil. "All systems ready, Captain," his pilot reported. Minho looked at the shimmering barrier ahead of them. For 2 centuries, it had kept humanity trapped inside their own corner of space. Today, that would end. "Activate the frequency modulator," he ordered. The ship began to hum with a strange sound. Everything around them started to blur and shift. The veil, which had looked solid and impenetrable, began to look thin, almost transparent. "We're passing through," the pilot said, her voice filled with wonder. For a moment, everything went white. Then the Prometheus emerged on the other side, but they weren't in Council space. The stars here were different, darker, older. "Where are we?" Minho asked. The navigation officer checked her instruments. "We're in the void beyond, sir. The region the Council declared off-limits to everyone." "Why would they ban everyone from coming here?" "I think we're about to find out." The Prometheus moved deeper into the void. After 3 days of searching, they found something incredible. It was a massive structure floating in space, bigger than any planet. It was ancient, covered in symbols that no one recognized. Minho assembled a team to explore it. Among them was Bora Kim, a scientist who studied alien civilizations. When they entered the structure, they found ruins that took their breath away. "These are older than the Council," Bora said, running her hand over a wall covered in strange writing. "Much older. Maybe millions of years." They explored deeper. In the center of the structure, they found a library of sorts, information stored in crystal devices that still worked after countless centuries. What they learned changed everything. The Galactic Council had not created galactic civilization. They had inherited it. The ruins showed evidence of 4 previous civilizations, each more advanced than the next. Each one had been exiled by the one before it. Each time, the exiled civilization had grown stronger and eventually surpassed their oppressors. The Council is doing to us exactly what was done to them millions of years ago, Bora explained to Minho. They're repeating the same mistake, and if history shows us anything, it's that we'll surpass them just like they surpassed the ones who came before. Minho immediately sent this information back to Earth through their quantum communication system. The news spread quickly through human space. Humanity wasn't just breaking free from exile. They were part of a pattern that had repeated for millions of years. But humanity had another secret, one that the Council knew nothing about. On a hidden asteroid base beyond the Veil, Colonial Administrator Jinwoo Park met with representatives from 47 secret colonies. These colonies had been established over the past 150 years using sleeper ships that passed through temporary breaches in the Veil. "How many people are out here now?" asked one representative. 3 million, Jinwoo answered, spread across 47 colonies in deep space, all connected through quantum communication, all hidden from the Council, all growing stronger every year. These secret colonies were humanity's insurance policy. Even if something happened to Earth, humanity would survive. They had spread throughout the galaxy like seeds on the wind, taking root in places no one was watching. But secrets don't stay hidden forever. A Council patrol ship was investigating an asteroid field when they detected unusual radiation. They followed the signature and found one of humanity's deep space mining operations. The station was small, with only 200 people, but it was clearly human in design. The Council ship's commander was shocked. "How did humans get out here? The Veil is still active." "Unknown, sir," his officer replied. "Should we report this?" "No, we destroy it. If word gets out that humans have escaped the Veil, it will cause panic. Better to eliminate the problem quietly." The Council ship powered up its weapons and approached the mining station. But Commander Isol Wan, who led the station's defense, was ready. She had been expecting this day for years. "Activate defense grid," she ordered calmly. The mining station didn't look like a military target, but appearances were deceiving. Hidden weapons emerged from the asteroid itself. The Council ship fired first, but its weapons bounced harmlessly off the station's shields. Then the station fired back. The weapons humanity had developed during their isolation were unlike anything the Council had seen. The Council ship's shields collapsed in seconds. Its weapons were disabled. Its engines went dead. "Stop firing," Isol ordered. "Send them a message, surrender, and you will not be harmed." The Council crew had no choice. They surrendered. For the first time in galactic history, humans had captured a Council military vessel intact. Isol treated the captured crew well. They were given food, medical care, and comfortable quarters. But their ship was taken apart and studied. Every piece of Council technology was examined, copied, and improved upon. When the Council crew was finally released, Isol sent them home with a message. Admiral Seungmin Kwon, who commanded human forces in deep space, had recorded it himself. "Council members," the recording began, "we didn't break your veil. We didn't need to. While you watched and waited for us to weaken, we were building. We were growing. We were spreading across the galaxy through ways you never imagined." The recording showed images of human colonies scattered across space, human ships moving through Council territory unseen, human technology advancing far beyond Council limits. "Your exile ends when we say it ends," Admiral Kwon continued. "Not before. We are no longer asking for permission to exist. We are informing you that we exist, we are everywhere, and we are not going away. Try to stop us again, and you will fail. Try to destroy us, and you will regret it. Or you can accept reality. Humanity is free, and nothing you do will change that." The message ended. The Council crew was given a small ship and sent home. When they arrived at the nearest Council station, they immediately reported what had happened. The news spread like wildfire through Council space. Humans had escaped. Humans were everywhere, and humans had technology that could defeat Council ships. Panic spread through the Council chambers. Emergency sessions were called. Arguments broke out between different factions. Some wanted to extend the exile permanently. Some wanted to negotiate. And some wanted to destroy humanity before they became even more dangerous. On Earth, the leadership watched the chaos in council space through their spies and intelligence networks. Sorahan's successor, Premier Narration, sat in her office with her advisors. "They're afraid," one advisor said. "Good. Fear will keep them from doing anything stupid." But General Hyun Choi, who commanded Earth's defense forces, disagreed. "Fear makes people desperate, and desperate people do dangerous things. We need to be ready." Nari nodded. "How long until the full fleet is ready?" 3 months, Hyun answered. "But we have enough ships right now to defend Earth against anything the Council sends." "Then we wait," Nari decided. "We watch. We let them fight among themselves. When they're ready to talk, we'll be here. And when they're ready to fight, we'll be ready for that too." Across human space, people watched the news with a mixture of pride and nervousness. For 200 years, they had been isolated, building and growing in secret. Now the secret was out. The galaxy knew humanity was still here, still strong, still advancing. A teacher in New Beijing explained it to her students. "The council thought the veil was our prison. They were wrong. It was our chrysalis. They locked us away thinking we would die or weaken. Instead, we transformed. And now we're emerging as something they never expected, something they can't control, something they fear." "Are we going to war?" one student asked. The teacher thought for a moment. "I don't know, but I know this. We will never be exiled again. We will never bow to anyone. We are free, and we will stay free, no matter what it costs." Back on the Prometheus, Captain Min Ho-young was preparing for another expedition into the void. They had found dozens more ruins, each revealing more about the galaxy's true history. "The Council built their power on lies," Borakim told him. "They pretended to be the founders of civilization when they were just inheritors. They kept knowledge secret to maintain their authority. They exiled others to prevent competition. And now we're going to expose all of it," Minho said. "And change the galaxy forever," Bora agreed. The Prometheus vanished into the darkness of the void, searching for more truth, more knowledge, more proof that humanity was not wrong to demand freedom. Behind them, throughout human space and scattered across the galaxy, millions of humans continued their work. Building, exploring, learning, growing. The exile was ending not because the Council decided it should, but because humanity had simply outgrown it. 300 years after the exile began, the Galactic Council was falling apart. Reports came in daily of human ships appearing throughout the galaxy. Human traders, human explorers, human advisors, they were everywhere, and the Council couldn't stop them. In the Council chamber, arguments raged every day. Some species wanted to make peace with humanity. Others wanted war. And a few wanted to pretend humans didn't exist and hope the problem went away. Then something shocking happened. A man stepped forward during one session and requested permission to speak. His name was Taeyang Sung, and he looked completely human. "I am human," he announced to the stunned chamber. "My great-great-grandmother was one of the original ambassadors exiled 300 years ago. But she was pregnant when she left. She gave birth in secret on a council station. Our family has lived among you ever since, watching, learning, and waiting." The chamber erupted in chaos. Security guards rushed forward, but Taeyang stood calmly. "You can't arrest me," he said, "because I've done nothing wrong under your own laws. I was born in council space. I have citizenship papers. I have rights. And I am here to tell you that the exile of humanity was the greatest mistake this council has ever made." The eldest arbiter, now even older and dimmer than before, raised a crystalline hand for silence. "Explain yourself, human." "Gladly," Taeyang said. "The council has 3 choices now. First, you can extend the exile permanently and pretend Earth doesn't exist. Second, you can try to destroy humanity before we become more powerful. Third, you can admit your mistake and negotiate peace. Choose wisely, because only one of these options ends well for you." The chamber divided immediately into 3 factions, each supporting a different option. The debate lasted for weeks, While the council argued, humanity made its move. Premier Nari Yoon appeared on every communication channel in council space. Her message was broadcast in 800 different languages. People of the galaxy, she began, 300 years ago, the council exiled humanity because they feared our potential. They were right to fear it, because we have exceeded even our own expectations. Today, humanity offers the council a treaty. The terms were simple. Humanity wanted mutual peace, open trade, and recognition as a sovereign power equal to the council. In exchange, humans would share some of their advanced technology, particularly their quantum-fold travel system that didn't require jump gates. But, Nari added, we will not rejoin the council under the old rules. We will not accept restrictions on our development. We will not bow to authority we did not choose. If you want peace, it will be between equals. Nothing less is acceptable. The moderate faction in the council wanted to accept. The hardliners refused. The hardliners were led by three of the oldest and most powerful species in the galaxy. They had been council leaders for thousands of years, and they would not accept humans as equals. We will not negotiate with criminals, their leader declared. We will not be intimidated by upstarts. Humanity will be reminded of their place. In secret, the hardliners gathered a massive fleet. They stole human frequency modulation technology from spies and traitors. They prepared for an attack that would end the human threat forever. They would strike at Earth itself. 3 months later, their fleet breached the veil. Alarms rang throughout human space. On Earth, Fleet Admiral Hyun Choi watched as hundreds of council ships emerged from the barrier. So they chose war, he said calmly. Then we will give them war. The council fleet was massive. 500 warships, the largest military force assembled in 1,000 years. They expected to overwhelm Earth's defenses quickly. They were wrong. Earth had spent 300 years preparing for exactly this moment. As the council fleet approached, Earth's defense systems activated. The first wave of council ships encountered Earth's outer defense platforms. These platforms didn't just have weapons. They had reality distortion fields. Ships that crossed the threshold simply ceased to exist. Not destroyed, just gone, removed from existence itself. 50 council ships vanished in the first minute. Pull back, the council fleet commander ordered. Reform at safe distance. But there was no safe distance. Human ships emerged from hiding all around them. They had been waiting, invisible to council sensors. The battle that followed was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Council weapons that had dominated space combat for millennia were useless against human shields. Human weapons tore through council armor like paper, and humans fought with a creativity that terrified the council forces. They used tactics that broke every rule of space combat. They sacrificed pieces to win positions. They took insane risks that somehow worked. They fight like they have nothing to lose, one council captain said to his crew. No, his weapons officer corrected. They fight like they have everything to protect. That's much more dangerous. Admiral Hyun Choi commanded the defense from the battleship Indomitable. He watched the battle unfold with satisfaction. Every scenario his people had planned for was playing out perfectly. Focus fire on their command ships, he ordered. Break their coordination. The human fleet moved like a single organism, each ship supporting the others. When council ships tried to surround them, the humans collapsed the trap from the inside. When the council tried to retreat, the humans cut off their escape. On Earth, in the command center deep underground, Nari Yoon watched the battle through multiple screens. Her military advisors stood around her, monitoring every aspect of the fight. The council is losing, one general reported. They've lost over half their ships. Our casualties are minimal. They didn't expect this, another advisor said. They thought we'd be an easy target. Nari felt no joy in the battle. She had hoped for peace. But if war was what the council wanted, humanity would show them the cost of that choice. Above Earth, the decisive moment came. The council's flagship, a massive vessel that had never been damaged in battle, faced off against 3 human cruisers. The flagship was larger, more heavily armed, and carried more powerful shields. The human ships attacked from 3 different angles simultaneously. Their weapons hit the flagship's shields from different directions, each shot timed perfectly. The shields, designed to stop attacks from one direction, couldn't handle the multi-directional assault. The flagship's shields collapsed. Its weapons went offline. Its engines failed. This is Admiral Hyun Choi of Earth Defense Forces. A message played across all Council frequencies. Your flagship is disabled but not destroyed. Surrender now, and we will spare your fleet. Continue fighting, and we will destroy every ship you have. The Council fleet commander looked at his dead controls, at his defeated fleet, at the superior human forces surrounding him. He had no choice. All ships, cease fire, we surrender. The battle was over. The Council had attacked with their mightiest fleet and been defeated completely. The message was clear to everyone in the galaxy. Humanity could not be beaten by force. The captured Council crews were treated well, given medical care, and held in comfortable facilities. But their ships were destroyed, every single one. Humanity wanted to send a message. Attack us, and you lose everything. Back in Council space, the hardliners' defeat shocked everyone. The moderate faction immediately called for the hardline leaders to be removed from power. You promised an easy victory, one moderate leader accused them. You promised humanity would fall. Instead, you lost our finest fleet. You've made us look weak. The hardliners tried to defend themselves, but it was useless. Public opinion had turned against them. Even their own people demanded change. Within days, the three species that led the hardliners withdrew from Council leadership. The moderate faction took control. The eldest arbiter, who had watched this all unfold, finally spoke in an emergency session. The exile is ended, it announced. Not because we wish it, but because we cannot enforce it. Humanity is stronger than us. They have surpassed us. The Council must adapt or become irrelevant. A formal invitation was sent to Earth. The Council requested that humanity send ambassadors to negotiate a new relationship, not as subordinates, but as equals. On Earth, Narration read the invitation carefully. Her advisors were divided. Some wanted to refuse out of pride, others wanted to accept and reshape the Council from within. Nari made her decision. We'll send ambassadors, but we go on our terms. We're not asking for acceptance anymore. We're offering them a chance to be part of the future we're building. The invitation was accepted. Humanity would return to the galactic stage. But this time, they would not be the exiled criminals. They would be the ones writing the new rules. In his quarters, Admiral Hyun Choi looked out at the stars. Earth had been attacked and had won. The message had been sent. No one would dare try to exile humanity again. But he knew this was just the beginning. The battle had been won, but the real challenge, changing the entire galaxy's power structure, was still ahead. Across human space, people celebrated the victory but also prepared for what came next. The exile had ended. The real work of building a new galaxy was about to begin. The first open diplomatic summit in 300 years took place in the ancient ruins humanity had discovered in the void beyond. It was neutral ground, older than both the Council and humanity, and perfect for what would happen there. Chief negotiator Gina Kwan led the human delegation. She was young, brilliant, and absolutely fearless. When she walked into the negotiation chamber, representatives from hundreds of alien species watched her. "Thank you for coming," the eldest arbiter said. Its crystal body was dim now, showing its great age. "Humanity has earned the right to rejoin galactic civilization." Gina smiled politely but shook her head. "We're not here to rejoin anything. We're here to rebuild everything." The chamber went silent. This was not what the Council expected. "Explain yourself," the arbiter said. Gina gestured, and a hologram appeared in the center of the room. It showed the evidence humanity had gathered from the ancient ruins. Images of 4 previous civilizations, each one exiled by the one before it. Each time, the exiled species had grown stronger and eventually surpassed their oppressors. Historian Yunho Seo stepped forward to explain. "Your ancestors were once exiled, just as you exiled us. The cycle has repeated 4 times over millions of years. Each time, the exiled species advances, surpasses, and replaces the old order. Each time, The new rulers promise to be better, but end up doing the same thing. This is ancient history, one alien representative argued. It has nothing to do with now. It has everything to do with now, Gina replied. Because humanity is going to break the cycle. We're not here to replace you. We're here to end this pattern forever. She presented humanity's demands. They were not requests or suggestions. They were conditions for peace. First, the preservation protocols would be abolished. Every species must be free to develop at their own pace without artificial restrictions. Progress could not be controlled by fear. Second, the council would be dissolved and replaced with a true democratic assembly, one where every species had a voice, not just the ancient powerful ones. Third, all species that had been exiled or restricted by the council would be freed and given full status. Humanity had already found 3 other exiled civilizations during their explorations. They would all be welcomed back. Fourth, technology sharing would become mandatory. The hoarding of knowledge to maintain power would end. All advances would be shared freely among all species. Fifth, the veil technology would be destroyed. Exile would never be used as a tool of control again. The chamber erupted in argument. Some species supported the changes. Others were outraged. "You cannot demand this," a representative shouted. "You are one species among thousands. Who are you to tell us how to govern ourselves?" "We are the species that survived your worst punishment and became stronger," Gina answered calmly. "We are the species that just defeated your finest fleet. We are the species that has advanced more in 300 years than you have in 3,000. That's who we are. And if you want peace instead of war, you will accept our terms." The negotiations continued for weeks. The moderate factions supported most of humanity's demands. But the remaining hardliners absolutely refused. Then something unexpected happened. The hardliners activated an ancient weapon system they had kept hidden for millennia. It was a network of satellites that surrounded human space, capable of destroying all life on Earth and human colonies simultaneously. "Accept our authority, or we destroy you all," they threatened. In the negotiation room, Gina received the alert. She looked at the hardliners' representatives and smiled. "You should check on your weapon system," she suggested. The hardliners frantically tried to activate their weapons. Nothing happened. The systems were offline, completely disabled. Security Chief Suman Park appeared on a holographic screen. "Did you really think we wouldn't find your weapon network? We discovered it 100 years ago. We've been controlling it ever since. In fact, we've reprogrammed it. Would you like to see?" On every screen in the negotiation chamber, a map appeared. It showed the weapon network activating, but instead of targeting human space, it was aimed at the hardliners' home systems. "We won't fire it," Suman continued. "We don't need to destroy you to win. But now you know the truth. You have no power over us. You never did. The only reason we're negotiating instead of simply taking over is because we choose peace. Don't make us change our minds." The hardliners collapsed immediately. Without their secret weapon, without military superiority, they had nothing left. Their representatives were removed from the negotiations in disgrace. The moderate faction took full control. Within days, they agreed to all of humanity's demands. The Galactic Council was officially dissolved. In its place, the Galactic Assembly was formed, with representatives from every species, including humanity. The vote was held in the same chamber where humanity had been exiled 300 years earlier. Now, instead of one human standing alone, there were dozens of human representatives among hundreds of aliens. The voting took 2 days. When it was over, all 5 of humanity's demands had been approved by a large majority. The galaxy had changed forever. When the results were announced, a human ambassador stood to speak. His name was Yun Wukong, great-great-grandson of the original ambassador who had been exiled. He stood in the exact spot where his ancestor had stood centuries ago. 300 years ago, my ancestor stood here alone, Hyunwoo began. He was told that humanity was dangerous, that we advanced too quickly, that we questioned too much, that we refused to accept our place in the natural order. He paused and looked around the chamber at all the different species watching him. The council was right about everything except one thing. We are dangerous, to tyranny, to stagnation, to anyone who says you cannot dream bigger. We do advance quickly because we refuse to accept artificial limits. We do question everything because blind obedience has never led anywhere good. And yes, we absolutely refuse to accept a place assigned to us by others. His voice grew stronger. The council exiled us to protect their civilization, but they did something else entirely. They freed us. They removed every chain, every restriction, every rule that held us back. And in doing so, they allowed us to become what we truly are, a species that reaches for the stars and refuses to stop until we touch them. So I say this to every species here today. The age of exile is over. The age of control is over. The age of limits is over. Today begins the age of equals. Today begins the age where every species charts its own course. Today begins the age where we explore the galaxy together, not as rulers and subjects, but as partners. The chamber remained silent for a moment. Then, slowly, alien representatives from across the galaxy began to applaud. Even those who had opposed the changes recognized the truth in his words. The galaxy was changing, and there was no going back. Years passed. The transition was not always smooth. Some species struggled to adapt to the new system. But slowly, the galaxy became something it had never been before, truly free. Dr. Hana Choi, a historian and teacher, gave a lecture at the new Galactic University on Earth. Her classroom was filled with students from dozens of different species, all learning together. The exile was meant to be a punishment, she explained to her students. The council believed that isolation would weaken us or destroy us. They didn't understand the most important thing about humans. A young alien student raised a tentacle. What didn't they understand, Professor? Hana smiled. They didn't understand that humans don't fear being alone. We thrive in isolation. We don't accept limits. We break them. When you tell us we can't do something, that's when we become most determined to do it. The council thought they were building a prison. They actually built a training ground. She walked to the window and pointed at the sky, where human and alien ships traveled together through space. They exiled us to save their civilization. Instead, they saved ours. By forcing us to stand alone, they taught us we were strong enough to stand anywhere. By taking away their protection, they showed us we never needed it. That lesson changed the galaxy forever. Outside the university, the city of New Seoul stretched toward the sky. Buildings from Earth mixed with architecture from 100 different worlds. Humans and aliens walked together through streets filled with art, music, and ideas from across the galaxy. Ships departed every hour, heading to explore new worlds. But now they didn't go alone. Human crews worked alongside aliens, sharing knowledge and learning from each other. The Veil technology had been destroyed, just as promised. No species would ever be exiled again. The weapon systems had been dismantled. The preservation protocols were gone. In their place was something new. Freedom. True freedom. For everyone. On a transport ship heading toward the galactic frontier, Captain Minho Jiang's granddaughter prepared to explore a region of space no one had ever visited. Her crew included humans and 5 different alien species. Ready for the jump? Her pilot asked. A 6-armed alien who had joined the crew because she admired human courage. Always ready, the captain answered. As the ship jumped into faster-than-light travel, she thought about everything that had changed. 300 years ago, humans had been criminals, exiles, trapped behind a barrier they didn't create. Now they were free. Now everyone was free. And the galaxy, vast and mysterious, was open to anyone brave enough to explore it. The exile had ended. The true adventure had just begun. And somewhere in the ruins of the old council chambers, now a museum, a plaque marked the spot where Hyunwoo Kang had stood 3 centuries earlier. The plaque had just one sentence written on it. They tried to cage us. We chose to fly.